take us through the mechanics of this decision?
Well, I don't know if we have enough time to do that. I'll just tell you that, when we landed last Saturday night coming back from Missouri, we anticipated that we could have some issues, and we began to address them at that time, and it continued throughout the week until we came up with the decision this morning that we're going to move the game.
Where does this decision rank in decisions you've had to make through your life?
Well, it was a very critical decision, and it was important for so many people, but ultimately it was about our friends and family and the victims of the flooding and the casualties. So that was paramount. That was always on our mind from the beginning, and that was certainly every thought process that we had. That was a consideration, and while this might not be a popular decision among a lot of people, I feel strongly that it was the right thing. Dr. Pastides and his senior staff was with me every step of the way, and we made a decision that we feel strongly about.
Ray, do you guys have an insurance policy for canceled home games that you would get reimbursed?
Yes, we do have an insurance policy that only affects if we have structural damage to Williams-Brice. So that being said, there will be no compensation for losing a home game.
But you will get the ticket sales from this game after LSU recoups expenses, right?
Well, it'll be treated like a home game for us.
Ray, how realistic was the prospect of a neutral site?
It was realistic. As I said, we started on this after we got back from Missouri, and Sunday was a bad weather day, and it continued into the week. And, we had some conversations with Jacksonville, with Charlotte, with Atlanta, and a couple other phone calls, and they were real. But logistically, they didn't take shape quick enough. And at the end of the day, if we were going to move the game, the logical decision was to go to LSU.
Are you concerned about the Vandy game, Ray?
Well, I think we have to be concerned because our situations here in the Midlands are continuing to evolve, and we're not completely settled at this point. So, we like to hope that by the Vandy next weekend that we'll be fine, but we'll continue to monitor the situation.
What were the biggest issues surrounding a neutral site game? What was the biggest concerns these stadiums expressed to you before they would agree to host a game?
Well, I don't want to get into the minutiae too far, but, when you host a game here at Williams-Brice, we know who our staff is, on game day, and our law enforcement and EMS and so forth, and certainly LSU has that staff in place. These other stadiums, not so much in place because they have different events going on, and it's not a situation where we're in charge. So that had to be worked through. The ticket situation had to be worked through, and we just didn't have enough time to get in a position to get serious about one of the other cities.
Did any stadium insist on a ticket guarantee from you guys? A certain number of tickets you had to sell, or you had to guarantee a certain number of tickets?
No, never did get that far in discussions.
Yeah.
Ray, did the SEC offer anything competitively to you? I mean, did they say maybe they can flip 2020 over to a South Carolina home game when LSU comes back on the schedule or anything like that?
No, we haven't had those discussions. I did, of course, I asked about future scheduling, and this is a situation where we don't play LSU next year, and you don't have an opportunity to flip. Schedules are set; they're very difficult. We understand that. So Charles Bloom and I worked extensively in maybe postponing this game and finding another date in this season. While we got close, it did not work out, but we did explore those options, and this is where we ended up.
Did area law enforcement ever get to the point where they were stressing how overburdened they are right now and how this would impact them if you played here?
Well, we know that they're overburdened, and from day one, it never was going to be a situation where we were going to ask for assistance or law enforcement or personnel, security staff, EMS, or anybody to come off of the job that they're performing and protecting our citizens and doing their job with the flooding. So that was never an issue, never a conversation. If we had to have a football game and that's an issue, there was not going to be a football game. So that was never in play. It was only going to be an opportunity if the situation had resolved well enough that we're not affecting their personnel and their staffing. And we never got to that point, therefore there's no game.
Right. The SEC is eventually going to help you guys recoup some of the lost revenue?
I'm not sure that'll be the case. I don't think that there's a precedent in place. We've had a couple of situations in the league that will be part of my discussion going forward. But the money situation is not paramount right now. Are we going to sustain a loss? Absolutely. But as I said from the beginning, we live here in the city of Columbia in the Midlands, and our families and friends have been affected by this tragedy, and that's what's important. These other factors are not important. Were we going to play a football game? Possibly. but it wasn't going to be about football. It was going to be about doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, I feel strongly, Dr. Pastides and his staff, we feel that we're in the right place today.
To that end, how impressive to see so many of your student athletes and coaches helping out with all that?
It's just absolutely wonderful, and I'm not surprised by it. You know, I know that Coach Martin, some of his players and other coaches were out in the community working, and that's about who we are. And I think Craig Melvin was overwhelmed with emotion yesterday when he was visiting from New York, and he talked about it at length. And, you know, it's a great feeling about where we live and the people that we're associated with on a daily basis.
Anything else for Coach Hanna?
All right. Thank you.
Ray.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.